proceed because due to some issues, either on the part of the purchaser or on the part of the vendor. So we will see what are the remedies available to the parties if this happen. So, okay. Can you see the slide now?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, boleh Okay. Remedies for breach of contract. So, so as we know that sometimes what we plan is not happen as we wish. So there is something happen in between that may cause the contract to be the parties not to proceed with what they have promised to do lah. So a breach of contract is committed when a party without lawful excuse fails or refuses to perform what is due from him under the contract. Itu satu So a breach of contract is committed when a party without lawful excuse. Kalau dia ada lawful excuse, mungkin it's not considered as breach of contract lah. Ataupun it is excusable. Fails to or refuse to perform what is due from him under the contract, or performs defectively or incapacitates himself from performing. So this is what generally means a breach of contract. I think you have learned this when you learn law of contract in your second year, but this is just a brief revision of it. So as we know, parties to a sale and purchase agreement are legally bound by the terms of the contract. So a failure to perform the obligation under the contract by one party will constitute a breach, entitling the other party to contractual remedies unless otherwise modified by the sale and purchase terms, unless otherwise agreed by the parties. So now we are looking at the breach of contract. Breach of contract can be divided into two. Breach of condition, which refers to the terms that goes to the root of the contract, which is the important or the main terms of the contract. And the second one, breach of warranty, meaning the terms which is subsidiary, which is not that important. So when there is a breach of condition, this will entitle the innocent party to terminate the contract. So because it goes to the root of the contract. So the innocent party can terminate the contract and claim for damages. But if it is only a breach of warranty, meaning the terms which is not really that important, it is just a subsidiary terms, it gives rise to right to sue for damages but not to terminate. Ini the general idea of it dulu breach of contract. Okay. So when we talk about a sale and purchase agreement, a contract with regards to a sale and purchase of property, normally the breach of or the default committed by the purchaser on the part of the purchaser usually relate to non-payment of the purchase price. Non-payment of the purchase price, whereby on the part of the vendor, normally the breach relates to failure to transfer an unencumbered property to the purchaser. So meaning the vendor failed to hand over the property which is free from encumbrances or hand over the property with vacant possession. So there are many cases decided which actually says that it is considered as a material breach in a sale and purchase transaction when it is involve failure to pay the purchase price. Sebab of course lah, the main subject matter ialah nak beli rumah dan nak bayar harga rumah. Kalau the other party fail to pay, then it goes to the root of the contract. Or failure to evict squatters. Contohnya nak jual sekeping tanah dan ada ramai squatters duduk kat situ. Tapi the vendor failed to actually evict the squatters before the completion period. So itu pun boleh jadi a material breach in sale and purchase transaction. Failure to deliver vacant possession. Failure to deliver vacant possession, meaning to say vendor dia nak jual rumah dia, tapi by the time the purchaser bayar the full purchase price, they discovered that someone else is actually also claiming rights over the property. So the vendor failed to deliver vacant possession of the property because of these pending rights. So it is also considered as a material breach in sale and purchase transaction. Or when we buy property from developer, sometimes it involves serious defect in the construction. So serious defect in the construction of the house, contohnya dia bagi rumah tu tiba-tiba dia kata dia menggunakan certain material yang below the standards dan sebagainya, then this is a material breach in a sale and purchase transaction. Okay, so we know that these are some of the issues that can trigger a breach in a sale and purchase transaction. So now we are looking at the remedies. What are the remedies available to the innocent parties if this happen? So remedies is a redress for a wrong or a method by which an injured party enforces a right or correct a loss. So remedies ni ialah a redress for a wrong or a method by which an injured party enforces a right or corrects a loss. So remedies can be divided into two, legal remedies and equitable remedies. So ini pun you all dah belajar lah as a contract dulu. Okay. So kalau kita tengok dalam sale and purchase agreement, normally when there is a provisions about default, when the remedies available to the purchaser, if the default committed by the purchaser, the remedies available to the vendor normally is to forfeit a sum equivalent to the deposit paid by the purchaser. Contohnya, towards the end of the transaction selepas 3 bulan, purchaser tu masih gagal untuk dapatkan loan untuk beli rumah tu. So at this point of time, the vendor may actually terminate this SPA and forfeit the deposit that had been paid by the purchaser as a damages, as a remedies to the default. Dan kalaulah default tu committed by the vendor pula, contohnya vendor fail to hand over the vacant possession of the house to the purchaser. Vendor tak boleh bagi serahkan kunci sebab ada orang lain duduk dalam rumah tu ataupun ada somebody else claiming the rights over the house atau tiba-tiba rumah tu runtuh. So the vendor cannot hand over the vacant possession to the purchaser as agreed in the sale and purchase agreement. So in this situation, the remedies available to the purchaser is the purchaser may sue for damages or specific performance. Specific performance. So kalau dalam senario tadi, contoh tadi, rumah tu runtuh. So of course in this situation, specific performance is not possible because rumah dah tak ada, macam mana vendor nak hand over it to the purchaser. So mungkin the suitable remedies in this situation is only damages instead of specific performance. Okay, next one. Okay, so when we learn about damages, the basic principle is that the purpose of damages is to compensate the injured party, not to unjustly enrich them. So the purpose of damages tu sebenarnya ialah untuk compensate the injured party. So dia bukanlah berniat untuk memberi keuntungan kepada the injured party. The court will award damages to an aggrieved party only if the loss or damage can be ascertained. Ini general principle dia. And of course, when determining the quantum of damages, the court will also look at the issue of remoteness of damages in that particular case. So there are generally two types of damages, general damages and also special damages. General damages refers to loss which arises naturally in the usual course of things from the breach itself, and special damages arise on account of unusual circumstances affecting the parties. They are not recoverable unless it was brought to the knowledge of the defendant. So these are all actually the general principles when we talk about damages. Okay. So the other one, the other types of damages, we call it liquidated damages. Liquidated damages. So what is actually liquidated damages? Anyone? What is liquidated damages? Siapa-siapa nak cuba jawab?
Damages yang boleh dikira.
Damages yang boleh dikira. Ya. Okay. Lain?
The accessible damages kan, madam?
Accessible damages, okay. Damages that have been ascertained earlier actually. Dia dah tetapkan dah. Earlier in the agreement. So this is provided under Section 75 of the Contract Act. Kalau kita recall balik Section 75, when a contract has been broken, if a sum is named in the contract, meaning you have actually ascertained certain sum of money in the contract as the amount to be paid in case of such breach. So you dah siap-siap tentukan berapa jumlah yang orang ni kena bayar kalau ada breach. Or if the contract contains any other stipulations by way of penalty, ataupun dalam kontrak tu dia ada provisions berkenaan dengan penalty. The party complaining the breach, meaning the innocent party, is entitled, whether or not actual damage or loss is proved to have been caused thereby, to receive from the party who has broken the contract reasonable compensation not exceeding the amount so named, or as the case may be, the penalty stipulated for. So kalau dalam sale and purchase agreement, contohnya dalam provisions tu, you have actually ascertained that if the purchaser fail to pay the balance purchase price within three months, the vendor is entitled to forfeit the deposit of 10% as damages. So this we call a liquidated damages, because a sum is named in the contract as the amount to be paid in case of such breach. Ataupun kita ada provisions berkenaan dengan penalty. So this is the basis of liquidated damages. Okay. So kalau kita tengok, liquidated damages is compensation of breach of contract where the amount of penalty is stipulated for. Dan satu lagi elemen yang penting dalam liquidated damages ni, it is irrelevant whether actual damage or loss is proved or not. So itu tak perlu buktikan sama ada you betul-betul suffered this amount of loss. So because it is already ascertained in the contract. So normally kita boleh nampak ni kalau kita tengok dalam Schedule G and H, dia dah ada liquidated damages for late payments. For late payment, contohnya kalaulah purchaser, when we buy property from developer, purchaser delay in paying the progress payment. Delay in paying the progress payment. So dalam Schedule G and H dia dah letak siap-siap. Purchaser is bound to pay 10% interest on the amount outstanding. Sama juga, we can see the liquidated damages tu mentioned dalam default by the purchaser and also late delivery. Contohnya, developer fail to complete the property within the 36 months as agreed. So, bulan ke-37 dan seterusnya, developer need to pay late delivery interest to the purchaser based on the calculation that have been actually ascertained dalam kontrak tu. Contohnya kalau late delivery ialah 10% kali berapa jumlah purchase price kali berapa jumlah hari yang you lambat tu dan bahagi dengan 365 hari. So you akan dapat berapa ringgit pemaju tu kena bayar pada you setiap hari until they manage to complete the property and hand over the property to you. So these are the liquidated damages we can actually find it in Schedule G and H and the standard statutory contract, and also in the sale and purchase agreement yang sub-sale pun biasanya kita dah ada liquidated damages yang kita letak dalam agreement tu. Yeah? Okay, now we are going to look at one important case pertaining to liquidated damages. Selva Kumar anak lelaki Murgiah and Tiaga Raja anak lelaki Retna Sami. So dalam kes ni, the court held that in the absence of any such proof of loss, only a reasonable amount of deposit paid in the execution of the SPA may be forfeited to the vendor. Installment payment made after the initial deposit are not profitable except upon proof of loss. Ada dua kes, satu Selva Kumar dan satu lagi Johor Coastal Development Sdn Bhd. These two cases actually indicates that walaupun you have actually ascertained the amount to be paid, if there is a breach, but the court in these two cases actually requires the proof of loss. Kalau dalam section 75 tadi kata, kalau dah ada, you dah ascertain certain amount as liquidated damages, you don't need to prove the evidence or loss. Tapi dalam these two cases, court decide otherwise. Court kata the vendor could not prove it loss. So dia tak benarkan the innocent party in this case claim for the liquidated damages. So based on Selva Kumar and Johor Coastal, nanti you all baca these two cases, an innocent party to rely on liquidated ascertained damages LAD clause must establish that there was a breach of contract, proof of actual damage, although not necessarily the quantum of it loss, and justify the reasonableness of the stipulated sum and formula. So kalau you baca, you all Google, there are many commentaries on this Selva Kumar and Johor Coastal case. But recently, there was a case actually sort of departed from the position in Selva Kumar and Johor Coastal. The case is Qubit Electronics and Mass Telecommunications Sdn Bhd, decided in 2018. MLJU ni report lah 2018. So this case decided at federal court was said to have departed from the position in Selva Kumar and Johor Coastal. The principles in Qubit basically, upon establishing a breach of contract, the sum stipulated in the LAD clause is subject to section 75 of Contract Act. So 75 kata tadi, you don't need to prove any loss. Section 75 allows for compensation to be provided by the court irrespective of whether actual loss or damage is proven. Thus, proof of loss is not the sole conclusive determinant of a reasonable compensation, although evidence of that may be a useful starting point. So dalam kes ni, another point that been established dalam Qubit Electronics ni, the initial onus lies on the party seeking to enforce LAD clause under section 75 to adduce evidence that firstly there was a breach of contract, and secondly the contract contained a clause specifying a sum to be paid upon breach. Once these two elements have been established, the other party is entitled, meaning the innocent party is entitled to receive a sum not exceeding the amount stipulated in the contract, irrespective of whether actual damage or loss is proven. So it is interesting to read this Qubit Electronics. Ada banyak writings by commentaries on this case by legal firm when this case was decided, because it actually relates to the issue of liquidated ascertained damages in construction contract. Ada yang saya tengok ni ialah beberapa legal firm lah yang buat commentary on this case. So please read further. Okay, so tadi we talk about damages. Then the second remedies is rescissions. It is also an equitable remedy which allows an innocent party to cancel the contract by rescinding it. Its purpose is to reverse the contract and restore the parties as near as practicable to their original pre-contractual position. So maknanya dibatalkan terus, dan tujuannya ialah untuk mengembalikan pihak-pihak tu ke kedudukan dia yang asal sebelum kontrak itu ditandatangani. The sale or purchase agreement executed through fraud, misrepresentation, coercion, undue influence may be set aside. Ni boleh tengok further lah in the Contract Act. Okay. The next one ialah specific performance. Specific performance. It is a discretionary order granted by the courts directing a person to carry out their obligations under the contract. So specific performance ialah satu perintah granted by the court directing the person who is in default to actually perform their obligations under the contract. So tak kira lah sama ada yang in default tu ialah purchaser ataupun vendor. It is normally used where damages prove to be inadequate. So this refers to Specific Relief Act Section 11 sampai Section 29. Okay. So contracts which may be specifically enforced under Section 11 of Specific Relief Act ialah when the act agreed to be done is in the performance wholly or partly of a trust. Ni dia senaraikan. Where there exists no standard for ascertaining the actual damage caused by the non-performance of the act agreed to be done. When the act agreed to be done is such that pecuniary compensation for its non-performance will not afford adequate relief. Maksudnya ganti rugi dalam bentuk kewangan tidak mencukupi. When it is probable that pecuniary compensation cannot be obtained for non-performance of the act agreed to be done. So Section 11(1) ni dia senaraikan contracts which may be specifically enforced. Kita tengok beberapa contoh. Dalam no standard for ascertaining the actual damage, maknanya tidak ada cara untuk ascertain berapa kerugian yang ditanggung oleh innocent party ni. So the court decide that specific performance will be the best remedy to the party. Dalam Gun Realty Sendian Berhad and others and Nicholas and others, the High Court granted to the plaintiff specific performance of a sale and purchase of shares because the shares were not available in the open market. So maksudnya shares yang being offered under this agreement is not available in the open market. They're very limited, very specific. So kalau dia nak ganti dengan duit, it does not actually match the value of the nature of the shares that have been offered. In this case, court were unable to determine the actual loss due to the non-performance by the defendant. So dalam kes ni, specific performance will be the best remedy. So dalam another case, pecuniary compensation for its non-performance will not afford adequate relief. Tadi salah satu basis for specific performance. Dalam kes Lim Sin Woo and others and Chia Jen Siong. The High Court held that the compensation was not an adequate relief of the losses that the plaintiff would suffer. In this case, the plaintiff agreed to sell his landed property to the defendant. So plaintiff initially agreed to sell his property to the defendant. Pursuant to the agreement to sell the property, the plaintiff had terminated 3 existing tenancies in the building and had paid compensation to the tenants. The plaintiff had also terminated his business carried out at the said premises. So plaintiff ni dia dah agree nak jual property dia kepada defendant. So due to that, dia dah batalkan semua tenancy agreement yang duduk dalam building dia tu sebab dia nak jual property ni. Dan dia dah bayar compensation kepada tenant-tenant dia. Dan dia pun dah stop business dia sebab dia nak jual building ni. But at the end of the day, defendant tak jadi beli property tu, tak nak beli property tu. So in this case, the court held that the court held that the specific performance will be the best remedy because compensation was not adequate relief of the losses that plaintiff would suffer. Yeah? So these are the situation whereby it is a discretion by the court. So the court akan tengok beberapa situation yang court rasa perlu untuk bagi specific performance instead of payment of damages. Okay, ni level 2. Okay. Okay, another case, Zaibunsa binti Said Ahmad and Loh Koh Moy and another. Dalam kes ni, the purchaser applied for specific performance to direct the vendor to perform his obligation to transfer the land to him under the sale and purchase agreement. So, purchaser actually take action against the vendor to actually ask the vendor to perform his obligation to transfer the property to him as agreed under the SPA. There was also an oral agreement that the vendor should pay 5,000 to the purchaser if the vendor breached the agreement. So aside from the sale and purchase agreement, there is an oral agreement that vendor should pay RM 5,000 to the purchaser if the vendor breached the agreement. Okay? So this case, at High Court, the court decided that the existence of this oral agreement showed that the money was an adequate relief, thus rebutting the presumption under Section 11.2. So tadi Section 11.2 kata, unless until the contrary is proven, the court shall assume that the breach of a contract to transfer immovable property cannot be adequate relief by compensation in money. So High Court kata since dah ada satu oral agreement mengatakan kalau dia breach agreement tu dia akan bayar 5,000. So ini actually menunjukkan the compensation is adequate remedy. Yeah? When they go to federal court, so the parties appeal, then the federal court decided to grant for an order for specific performance. Maksudnya the vendor has to perform his obligation under the SPA. Yeah? Okay, so then they appeal to the Privy Council, ni tahu kes lama, tahun 80-an. The existence of oral agreement providing liquidated damages does not prevent the granting of specific performance. There was also evidence that the land is very important to the purchaser because the purchaser conducted team mining operation at the adjacent land. So the court, the Privy Council, confirmed the decision of the federal court by saying that even though there is sort of agreed liquidated damages when there is oral agreement to pay the damages if there is a default, but it does not prevent the court from granting the specific performance, especially when there was also evidence that the land is important to the purchaser. So in balancing the remedies to be paid to the parties, court kena tengok the peculiarity of the case to case basis lah. Okay. So yang tadi sama. So yang ni you all boleh baca lagi lah yang lain-lain case ni. Dan dalam section 221 of Specific Relief Act tu juga there are lists where contracts which cannot be specifically enforced. Maknanya ada situasi where the contract cannot be specifically enforced, meaning specific performance is not the suitable remedy. Maybe other types of remedies should be granted instead of specific performance. For example, dekat sini dia kata a contract made by or on behalf of a corporation or public company which is in excess of its power. Ataupun a contract which is in its nature revocable. So dalam situasi-situasi yang ini, the specific performance may not be the best remedy. Okay. Lastly, I would like to go to this case, Kong Yok Bee and Lin Chong Yan and another appeal, 2018. This case actually illustrates when specific performance is should be granted or not should not be granted. In this case, Kong Yok Bee and Lim Chong Yan and another, there was a first sale and purchase agreement signed by Koperasi Pegawai Hutan Melayu Perak. So the koperasi is the vendor, is the owner of the land. So initially, koperasi entered into a sale and purchase agreement with this Lim Chong Yan and the plaintiff. So the plaintiff actually paid the deposit and lodged a caveat against the land. And the plaintiff also actually rent the place from koperasi. So they are in the occupation of the property. So this property, the title of the property subject to restriction in interest. So under the sale and purchase agreement, the koperasi need to make an application for consent from the KL land office. This land is situated in KL. So the koperasi unfortunately met the application beyond the stipulated period. So dalam SMP tu, koperasi mesti memohon konsen dalam tempoh 6 bulan dari tarikh SMP. But koperasi met the application beyond the period allowed under the SPA. And another unfortunate event is because the consent was rejected by the KL land office. So the consent application was rejected by KL land office because there are insufficient documents supplied by koperasi during the application. So they reject. And after the application was rejected by KL land office, koperasi did not do anything. Dia tak appeal atau apa. Dia just sit on it. And at the same time, plaintiff ni masih lagi duduk dekat property tu. So the koperasi actually after a certain time, after 6 years, when the caveat lodged by the plaintiff had expired, the koperasi actually entered into a second sale and purchase agreement in respect of the same property. So ada first SMP tadi dan ada second SMP. So the second SPA, koperasi entered with Kong Yok Bee. Kong Yok Bee, the second defendant. So the same process that they need to go through. Koperasi applied for consent from KL land office, and this time the consent was approved. And the property was transferred into the name of the second defendant. So process to go through smoothly, property transferred to the second defendant. So yang tadi, yang first SMP tu dah tergantung macam tu. So koperasi enter into the second SMP with this Kong Yok Bee. Okay. So So since the koperasi have sold the property to this Kong Yok Bee, they commence proceedings against the plaintiff to recover vacant possession. So dia dah jual property ni kepada orang kedua ni. So dia nak minta plaintiff vacate the property. So the plaintiff then only file a counter claim against the koperasi and second defendant for a declaration that the first SPA was still valid and enforceable. So baru dia nak act against the koperasi. So at High Court, the High Court allowed the plaintiff claim. Lim Chong Yang claim tu, High Court allowed the plaintiff claim and ordered specific performance for the first SPA and the second defendant to retransfer the property to the plaintiff. So High Court kata first SPA masih valid, still valid. So the koperasi need to actually continue with the SPA and ordered the second defendant who actually had registered their name in the title to retransfer the property to the plaintiff, under the first SPA. So koperasi and the second defendant appeal against the decision of the High Court. So we look at the decision of the Court of Appeal. Okay, so the Court of Appeal was of the view that as a registered owner, the second defendant had obtained an indivisible title under Section 340 of National Land Code. So between the competing rights, equitable rights, which is actually owned by the plaintiff, and registered title in the name of the second defendant. So the court says that the registered title prevails over the equitable rights of the first of the plaintiff. So the court also observed that the koperasi was in breach of the first SPA for delaying the application to the state authority and not pursuing the appeal. So tadi kita tengok dia delay dalam application kepada state authority dan dia tak pursue with the appeal when their application was rejected. So the remedy for damages for the breaches of the first SPA would be more appropriate. So the court was of the view that since the property has been registered in the second defendant's name, it is appropriate for the remedy of damages instead of specific performance. Order for the specific relief was not suitable because it will affect the interest of the second defendant as the registered owner and the financing chargee bank's interest. Because the second defendant also, when they bought the property, they obtained a loan from bank. So now a charge is also registered in favor of the bank's name. So ada dua hak yang registered rights will be affected if the court granted the specific performance. So in this case, the court was of the view that the plaintiff can claim damages against the koperasi for breach of first SPA, but will not actually grant the application for specific performance because in this situation it's not suitable for the court to actually give specific performance because it will affect the interest to registered interest which has been registered in the title. So I hope you can see how the court actually applies or decide what are the remedies suitable for that particular case. Okay, I think that's all for today's discussion on presentation and also for breach of contract. Okay. Okay, do you have any question?
So far clear, Doctor.
So far, okay, Alhamdulillah. So, okay, so hopefully you can understand the discussion today. More or less macam banyak kepada revision of what you have learned also earlier lah dalam law of contract, dalam land law. Cuma kita revise lagi sekali dan relate it specifically for the sale and purchase transaction. So kalau tak ada apa-apa soalan, I think that's all for today. So just we have another week to go untuk untuk wrap up lah the subject. Minggu depan untuk do a little bit of revision dan juga untuk tengok ada beberapa isu lagi yang mungkin nak kena discuss lah because there are a lot of latest development in court pertaining to land dealings. Yang terbaru ialah pasal Dr. I tak sure whether Puan Hafizah ada share tak dalam you punya group issues of calculation of deposit which have been decided by the federal court. Yang dulunya kita ada, saya rasa kalau saya ada share case
PGD.
PGD, yes. So dah decided by court. So federal court when actually supposed to the date of calculation of the LAD if not mistaken sama ada daripada tarikh booking date ataupun daripada SPA. I think the court have decided that it has to be calculated from the booking date. So ada banyak case dan kalau you all rajin untuk Google untuk isu-isu ni, banyak firms yang actually always updates write commentaries on latest development pertaining to land matters because kebanyakan firm ni dia memang ada real estate department, real estate conveyancing or real estate unit dekat firm-firm yang besar ni. So kalau ada je latest development on the issues, dia akan ada buat commentaries. So do search for it untuk tengoklah, untuk dapatkan input-input yang terbaru. So kalau I think that's all for today. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Doktor.
Thank